Okay, chapter 1, sloka number 25. So, yeah. भीष्मद्रोणप्रमुखतः सर्वेषां च महीक्षिताम् उवाच पार्थ पश्यैतान् समवेतान् कुरुन् इति. So, now Arjuna is seeing that who all have accumulated there, who all have been assembled there. Bhisma Drona Pramukhatah. So Arjuna is seeing, and then he's seeing at Bhisma and Drona. Pramukhatah means they are the chieftains. Sarvesam cha Mahikshitam. Sarvesam means out of all those, and Mahikshitam means one of the very, very best of the warriors. Mahikshitam, one who can actually conquer the world. Uvacha Partha Parsaitan Samavetan Kurun iti. So just behold Partha. So Krishna is telling, just behold, Bhishma, Drona, Pramukhata. So they are all there. So as the super soul of each and every one of living entity, so Krishna could understand the motive behind Arjuna's asking, okay, take me there in between both the armies. So, and the word Partha is referring to the son of Prutha. Prutha is his father's name. He would be named as Prutha, or Prutha means basically Kunti. And similarly, Arjuna is also mentioned here as different names. Usually, Krishna calls with respect to the context. So that is also another a civilized way of addressing people with different names according to their activities and according to their state of being. So that's you would see these different names being applied at different conversations. Arjuna calls Krishna as Madhava sometimes. He calls it Arisudana sometimes. So different names as they are calling. So they actually pertain to some different meaning, and that meaning also comes out here. So, Uvacha Partha Parsaitan Samavetan Kurun iti. So now look at all these here. So his Kunti is basically Vasudev's sister. So he's kind of a contemporary like that. So Vasudev is Krishna's father. So he has agreed to become the charioteer of Arjuna. I mean, you could also say that, okay, I also drive my friend. My friend also drives me. So what is the big deal in that? So that's not the big deal with respect to a friend driving for another friend, or something like that. But here, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, is driving the chariot of his friend. Now we'll see in due course of time that how Karna wants Salya as his chariot driver, and then that causes such a turmoil within the Kaurava armies. So it gets some people think, or people think that being a chariot driver, being a chauffeur is being a chauffeur is a kind of a good position, you can say, but then being a chariot driver is not a very good position. So behold the Kurus. So that does not mean that did Arjuna want to stop the fight, and Krishna had never expected something like that from the son of his mother, that means the Kunti. So Krishna's aunt is Pratha, that is the Kunti, and the mind of Arjuna is now being predicted as Krishna is being there. So now in the next verse, Tatra paschat sthitan partha pitrun अथ पितामहान् आचार्यन् मातुलान् भ्रातॄन् पुत्रान् पौत्रान् सखींस्तथा स्वसुरान् सहृदश्चैव सेनयोरुभयोरपि. So now Krishna is mentioning about who all are standing there, who all are assembled there. So different relatives, they are all assembled there. So now Arjuna is able to see that who all are there. In both the parties, he is able to see the fathers, fathers and the contemporary fathers, grandfathers, So grandfathers, the fathers are like, his father's contemporaries. Persons like Bhurisrava, who are his father's contemporary. Grandfathers like Bhishma and Somadatta. Teachers like Dronacharya and Kripacharya. Maternal uncles like, Salya and Shakuni. and brothers like Duryodhana, sons like Lakshmana, and friends like Ashwatthama, well-wishers like Kritavarma, and you could also see all these relatives. They are there on either sides, ready to lay off their lives, ready to fight for uh, a cause that's called as a Dharma Yuddha. So here we should understand that this is also a kind of our contemporary lifestyle, as we see that even brothers sisters, they get onto fights. When we are younger, we fight over toys. When we little grow up, we fight over some other things like maybe clothes or maybe some gadgets or something. When we grow up, we fight over who is getting more recognition, who is getting more these things like that. So there is always a competition that goes on between the siblings or even the brothers sisters and like that. It does not stop there. It also goes to the level of where people get onto court cases, fighting over property, fighting over certain things, or fighting over some accusation, or fighting over whatever it is. So, what we see in Mahabharata, we could very closely relate. What we see in Ramayana is very, very tough to relate because that's the idealistic approach of Ramayana. Brothers like Ram and Bharat, brothers like Shatrugna and Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, Shatrugna, they had very, very tight bond amongst as brothers. So there was no fighting or quarrel or things like that. But even in the present day and age, that we see fights between friends and colleagues and relatives and even the own brothers and sisters maybe. So Mahabharata is talking about our own lives. Mahabharata is not something that is imaginary or something that is very, very high. So what we see here is like both of them are both the parties, Pandavas and Kauravas, they are basically brothers, and they are now assembled together for a determined engagement of fight. That's what is mentioned in the first chapter. Determined engagement of fight. They are not here to compromise for any reason. So all the compromising, all the things that they were actually thinking of Pandava's side and Krishna, all were thinking, they were all executed and nothing was fruitful. Nothing could give out to a situation where the fight could actually not ensue. But suddenly, at least the party of Duryodhana, they wanted the fight to happen, even though Krishna and Pandavas, they somehow wanted to eradicate the fight, not because that they were not capable, but because of the bloodshed or the so much of harm that would actually cause. So if we see on a bigger perspective, before any fights that could ensue between two siblings or two people, there is always a possibility of coming together and discussing. If two people open up with one another, there is a possibility that we can actually not go to that level. The difference in opinion should not lead to a court case. Difference in opinion could lead to a discussion, where the discussion would lead to a kind of negotiation or a kind of compromise or a pact or something like that. But it should never end up in a court case or ending up in killing each other. But nevertheless, Krishna and Pandavas, all they tried their best, but their words were not heard. That is why this happened. So if at a certain point people don't hear, people don't listen, then something needs to be done. That's fine. But in essence, there has to be always a scope of avoiding any kind of fights or any kind of dissension, or a difference in opinion should not lead to a quarrelsome, gruesome, harming fight. So great. So let us catch up in the next one. Thank you.